My name's Stacey Bowers, and I'm the director of the SEC's Office of the Advocate for Small Business Capital Formation. One of our office's important functions is to provide educational resources about capital raising and the securities laws to small business founders and their investors. Down the hall from us, there's another office that also has an educational mandate, the Office of Investor Education and Advocacy. You may know them as the brains behind Investor.gov. I'm here today with that office's Deputy Director, John Moses. And before we get started, I'll do our standard disclaimer. So while I'm here in my capacity as the Director of the Small Business Advocacy Office, you're here as the Deputy Director of OIEA. The views we express today are each our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Commission, the Commissioners, or the Commission staff. All right, with that out of the way, John, thanks for talking to us today. Let's start with the basics a little bit. What does your office do? How does it help investors?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Stacey. It's great to be here. As you know, our office really enjoys collaborating with OASB, the Small Business Office. But our office, when we're not working with you, is really focused on individual investors. So much of what the SEC does might seem a little bit esoteric or focused on things like market structure and rules, and some of that permeates what we do. But really, we're focused on the day-to-day questions and issues and concerns that individual investors have as they are thinking about building wealth, investing for the future, whether that's college or retirement, or protecting what they have built up over time. So there's a couple of different ways that we do that. One of our core items is Investor.gov, but I'm actually not going to start with that because I think one key service that we provide that might not be as well known, but is just incredibly important is our investor assistance function. So we have a team under our director, Lori Schock, that is focused on investor assistance. So any American can connect with us at help.sec.gov and raise a question or a concern that they might have about their investments. And this happens tens of thousands of times a year. And so that direct one-on-one assistance for individual investors is a huge part of what we do. And so it might be a question about a broker-dealer. It might be a question about an investment account. It might be a concern about a scam or fraud or something else. We are there to connect with you. Our team can be reached at help.sec.gov. So we'll talk about Investor.gov quite a lot, but I want people to know that one as well. So our investor assistance function is a huge part of what we do. We also do direct outreach to members of the public to provide investor education. So this outreach function is something that I'm personally involved in, and it's frankly a lot of fun. So we get to connect with Americans from all walks of life and all different types of venues. And this is really focused on helping people understand the basic building blocks of investing and also touching on other important topics that might be related to investing or even antecedents to investing, like paying down debt or building up savings. And we do this virtually, online, and we do it in person. And we do this from our headquarters here in D.C. with a small team and in conjunction with our regional offices all over the country. So this is lots of different events at schools and universities, at libraries and community centers. And this is where we really help connect and share our message that investing really is for everyone, or at least almost everyone. And it can be a really powerful wealth building tool that we want people to do wisely and to build confidence so that they can do it in a way that makes sense for their time frame, for their investing goals, and for their family. So that's the second piece, which is direct outreach. And the third piece, as you mentioned, is maybe the one that we are best known for and proudest of, which is Investor.gov. And Investor.gov really is a summary of tools and resources and content for everyday American investors or future investors. And so at Investor.gov, you can see information like our latest alerts and bulletins, These might be on evergreen material like frauds or scams, or new content, maybe about a new rule or a new piece of information that investors need to have as they engage with their investment professional. So those are the three sort of main areas. So our investor assistance function, our outreach function connecting with investors where they are, and then Investor.gov, where investors can connect with us wherever they are. Some other things I'll highlight on Investor.gov, maybe if I can go on for a moment. So I think some of our more popular content there includes our quizzes. So every month we have a new quiz. So some of this, again, is evergreen content. Some of it is new information based on something we're seeing in the marketplace, or a new rule or new piece of information that's come out that we want people to be aware of. We also have a calculator, so people can plug in their basic information about how much they're saving or how much they hope to save, how much they hope to invest, and then look at what that might result in based on compound growth, which is obviously a key element of that you need to understand to allocate your resources and take advantage of investing over a long period of time. So the calculators are really important. We have a glossary. We have information on topics that people want to know and topics that they should want to know. And that's really what our office is about, supporting everyday investors in those ways.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. You guys are doing a lot down the hall there. So you talked a little bit about how your office helps investors, and you noted that some of the key messages focus on preventing fraud. So can you share a little bit more about what kind of scams are prevalent and how investors can protect themselves? I think we can all use some insight here just so we're more aware about what's going on.
So unfortunately, Stacey, this is investment scams and investment fraud is one of the biggest risks out there. We see a lot of tactics and techniques that bad actors use in all different realms. These are things we hear about in the media or unfortunately might know from family and friends or even in our own personal lives. So these are scams that might use tactics like phishing or technology-based scams where they might use email or text to get a hold of you. There might be romance scams. There might be scams where they involve gift cards or digital assets, crypto, to try to extract your hard-earned money. But there's a few things specifically within investment scams that we see that we want people to look out for. Some red flags, if you will. And of course, there's much more on this at Investor.gov. But there's a few things we see. So, for example, people promising guaranteed returns. Of course, we know that all investments have risk and there are no guarantees. So that's a major red flag that we want people to be aware of. Another red flag and item that we want people to watch out for is feeling pressured to act quickly. A big part of what we share on Investor.gov and in our other messaging is that we want people to take their time to understand the investments that they're about to make. And if they have questions, they should go to a trusted party. So we hope that Investor.gov and our investor assistance team can be an unbiased, trusted party. But take your time. Don't feel rushed into making an investment. If it's an exploding offer, it's probably not an offer that is a good fit for you. So that's another red flag. Again, thinking about this sort of overlay of other types of scams that we see in just generally, unfortunately, around the country. It might be a scam where a purported investment professional is encouraging you to, say, pay with a gift card or to wire money overseas. Again, these are red flags with all kinds of scams. There's certainly red flags with investment scams. So those are opportunities that just aren't, and we want you to stay away from those. Again, and if you have questions, contact us at help.sec.gov before you invest or before you get taken by one of these scams. It's much, much harder to recover your funds, especially if the money's overseas, if you ask the questions afterwards. So please try to ask those questions first before you take action. And again, don't feel pressured and watch out for those red flags and some other ones that we go into more detail on Investor.gov.
Great. Thanks for providing the insight. I think it helps to know what to be on the lookout for, especially we all get so many messages every day, and I think many of them are scams. So your office the name education is in it. So I imagine you engage with all sorts of people and groups. And you already talked a little bit about education. So where are you currently focusing your outreach efforts? And what's the most interesting challenge you encounter when you're trying to educate investors?
So we do try to connect, Stacey, with all different people, all different communities, and at all levels of sophistication. So whether that is a future investor or an experienced investor, we try to have content for all individual investors on Investor.gov and in the other resources that I mentioned. In terms of our outreach, there's some key communities that we're really trying to connect with. And if you have an organization, if you have a community group, a university, or another type of entity that might be interested in a presentation from our team, you can connect with us at outreach@sec.gov, an email to outreach@sec.gov. And some of those key groups, though, are seniors. So we connect with older Americans and try to help them understand what things to look out for and to be aware of as they enter retirement and go through retirement. We, on the other end of the spectrum, are very happy to connect with younger investors or younger future investors, whether that's high school or university students, including HBCUs or other minority-serving institutions. We are very keen to connect with university students of all types as they begin their investing journey. And then we have a very robust program connecting with the military community, whether that's active duty, veterans, or their families. So we're very involved with the transition assistance program. This is as people are transitioning out of active duty and becoming veterans. We want people to understand what changes they might see and what opportunities they might want to keep in mind as they look to continue, hopefully, building their wealth as veterans. So all of those are our key communities. Maybe one I'll mention that we've more recently been really pleased to connect with is returning citizens. So these are our neighbors coming back from a period of incarceration, and there's lots of great community and government organizations that are helping them reintegrate into society. And a lot of those are focused on really key issues like, getting employment and, getting proper identification and things like that. We've found a lot of interest from those communities in understanding investing and in thinking about not just sort of building a baseline of, sort of financial literacy, but also being able to truly build wealth by investing over the long term. So we've been really pleased with the reaction we've gotten from those groups. You asked about some of the challenges we see, Stacey, and I think that the opportunity and the challenges are sort of two sides of the same coin. On the one hand, there's a whole lot of investment opportunities. Certainly some of these come with risks that we talked about earlier, but there's a whole lot of opportunities. And because there's so much information out there, it can be really hard to focus on the basics, on things like paying down high interest debt, building up an emergency fund so you have the confidence to invest over the long term despite what might happen in the near term, and then building up a diversified low cost portfolio maybe that takes advantage of some of the truly remarkable opportunities out there, like employer matches in a 401k are an incredibly important part of many employees' wealth building journey. And the information about all kinds of different products that may or may not be appropriate can sort of crowd out some of those core key messages that are worthy of everyone's attention. So that's a challenge. But I think those challenges maybe are overcome by the opportunities that we've seen in recent decades, right? So investing can be lower cost than it has been in the past. Getting a diversified portfolio can be more accessible than it has been in the past. Automating your investments can be a lot easier than it has been in the past. And that's so powerful because that habit is something that you can sort of decide to do once, automate it, and then get the benefit of that throughout the year or even future years. So there's certainly some challenges out there, but we think there's lots of opportunities as well in terms of building a portfolio and investing for the long term.
That's great information. Thanks. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So I want to point out you're one of the few people around here. You're neither a lawyer, nor an accountant, nor an economist. And that makes you interesting. You have an MBA, and before you joined the SEC, you served in the military and worked in the private sector. So building on this conversation about outreach and education, how does your experience and background inform your approach to educating investors?
So first of all, I really appreciate all of my colleagues that are attorneys, or even an educator of future attorneys like you, Stacey. So I think there's maybe a few things, and this is probably appreciated by colleagues throughout the commission. But one element that is maybe comes to mind is that the American economy is extremely dynamic. There's many thousands of businesses you deal with businesses maybe that are emerging, but whether the businesses are small or large, they're out there solving problems for customers. They're innovating. They're trying to do better every day and every year. And the capital markets, which the SEC helps oversee, are really a crucial part of allocating capital to them. And from your side, that's a lot about capital formation and helping businesses get the funds that they need. From the individual investor side, it's really about an opportunity to participate in that innovation, to participate in the potential upside and growth of those businesses as they work to do better through innovation. And that is just such a powerful part of this country and of the opportunity that everyday investors have. And I think that perspective is maybe useful in our work as we connect with individual investors. And then thinking about the SEC's role, sort of as making the rules so that people can do that with confidence. Now, their investments may do well or they may do poorly. Certainly, there's ups and downs, but having a basic rule-based framework is really powerful. So that perspective is maybe helpful from my background. And then thinking about being a military veteran and my time in the Navy, one of the things I really appreciated about the Navy is that there's all kinds of people from all walks of life and all parts of the country doing lots of different jobs, right? But all working together to accomplish the mission. And as we come together to do that in the military, it doesn't really matter where you've come from. All that matters is what you do now, right? Can you learn this information? Can you take action? Can you try to do the best that you can in a given circumstance? And so much of our message is about wherever you've come from, whatever backgrounds you have. This is some basic information that you can use to improve your financial situation, to make wise investments, to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think that the military is a really positive, forward-looking, hopeful place, was certainly my experience. And while there's lots of risks that we want to make sure people are aware of and that people protect themselves from things like the scams and frauds we talked about, I think that sort of mindset that active duty service members and veterans bring of looking towards the future and saying, what can we build from here, is something that I'm really proud to bring to this work and to hopefully share a little bit of as we connect with American investors.
Well, that's fantastic. So thanks for being with us today and sharing. I know folks enjoyed hearing about everything you and your office does for investors, and I'll put in a final plug for our listeners to check out your resources at Investor.gov and our office's resources on the SEC.gov homepage. Click on Small Business up in the right corner. And then if you have ideas or questions, listeners, feel free to email our office anytime at smallbusiness@SEC.gov. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Stacey. See you down the hall.
See you down the hall.